But I do see that the veteran community trusts this place a lot because Rutgers University has an alarming amount of veterans. That means that something is being done well. Can you walk us through what you guys believe is the best things you offer besides the experience that you give the veterans? Just to give you an example, the first time I came here and I met Urszula, and unannounced, I just came seeing a patient, and I stopped by and all these young men at the bottom talking friendliness. Then Ursula comes downstairs, friendly. We chatted. We had our personal podcast. We were just chatting, and I do think you guys do sell an experience besides the services. Can you walk us through what you believe makes this place successful?
So I think, validation of that experience, right? So all students, no matter what type of student you are, if your experiences are validated, who you are is validated, you are ultimately more successful. And that's what all the research says. And so I've been here, I started before I got here, my doctorate in education, and I'm focused on military cultural competency. And so what I think we provide to students, because what most military affiliate students, most student veterans say, and all the research that's been conducted since there was this huge wave of them in higher education, is that they don't feel understood by other students, by faculty or staff, that they think that their military service isn't appreciated or understood, and that's isolating, right, on a campus. So I think the best thing we do is to create a space to be like, yeah, I appreciate what you did. Your experiences are valid. This transition's hard. We get it, right? We know that you're an adult coming into education, and I think that that can be a universal thing for veterans, right? Regardless if you're the 40-something-year-old veteran or the 22-year-old veteran, like just a validation of the experience, what you did, right? Only 1.7% of the population has served in the military since 9/11. We're a very, very small population, right? And because it's so small, I think where do people get their understanding of the military, right? It's from the media, and the media tends to over sensationalize experiences and making them either very extreme in one direction, right? Like I always say, we're really violent and we're going to commit a violent act, to we're running into burning buildings to save puppies on a daily basis. Like, so you're we're really right. Most of us are just in the middle, exactly. And I think those two things create a situation where veterans are treated different because of like unconscious bias, and it makes it so that they don't want to identify themselves because of that, possibly. Like, well, if I tell them I'm a vet, they're going to think I'm violent or crazy or
have PTSD,
right? Yeah, or I'm super. A superhero. Yeah. And so that's a lot of pressure. So I think, again, validating, like, thank you for your service, we appreciate your service. These are the things you're an adult responsible for. So treating them like, no, you're a person, right? So I would go back to like that type of approach, I think.
So my experience is a little bit different because I'm a civilian working with military students or military affiliated populations. And I think if I was working with a different population, which I have in the past, I think what counts is like how you treat someone, listening, being an active listener, just listening to people. Sometimes they just need someone to talk to and let all their frustrations out. They might not be here. You might not be able to give them an answer or some type of, physical product. They just might be here to come in and talk to you and have someone that's there to listen and support, offer that ear of support. And just having, I think, good customer service skills. We do that a lot. Like all our staff is very polite. Like when someone asks a question, I hear all the time, like, oh, wow, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Like, I think students, like us humans in general, don't get that nowadays. Everything is social media and very impersonal, and there's no, like, it's an automatic response. You get some kind of automated response. There's no human interaction. There's no human contact. I think we provide that to whoever we interact with. We're good about giving them like a response, like a human response, even if it's in the form of an email, providing them with, good afternoon, so-and-so, instead of like a automatic message, being like giving them that personal touch, being polite, even though they're coming at us with a lot of anger and, they have whatever they're going through, we listen to them, we hear their story, we try to provide them with the best services and just being polite. And even though sometimes it's hard to be polite when someone is coming at you and saying all kinds of things, and but that calms them down. If you have that calm, if you don't get upset and agitated and come back at them with the same agitation they're coming at, with you, then that can give them it can calm them down. It can give them like a sense of like, oh wow, they're here to hear what I'm going through, to hear my story. And sometimes that just calms somebody down and makes them a little bit more relaxed, puts them like in the present moment, instead of like, what they're dealing with, something that is out of their control. That's part of like, working in mental health, and, bringing someone down into the present and dealing with like, the mindfulness, instead of just, it's hard to like sometimes not get wrapped up with someone's, problems and crisis and issues that they're going through. But that, that might be out of their control. It might be something that, we cannot help them solve, but we're here for them. We listen to them, and then it's magic. People let out their frustrations, and they feel a little bit better. And so that's something that we provide. I think just having good customer service and being polite and trying to show them that we care, appreciate them. Right.
Courtesy and dignity is what people always try to look for in places like this. And I like what I'm hearing from you guys, because in the military, when they say now, that means yesterday. So when you get out, the expectation is high that people are going to react with that sense of urgency. But then you come into a different set of rules. Then you realize like now could mean whenever that person freely chooses to do so. So there's a big transition in terms of the culture. I do think that one of the opportunities, and you guys do a great job, but one of the opportunities, I guess, from the DoD has to be what is the real value of somebody that served? For example, you go to school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get accreditation, and you become competent based on that accreditation. You come out of the military. Yes, you get benefits, but it's not accreditation. It's nothing that says this is what you're valued because of your service. And this is where I believe a lot of veterans have a hard time when they're told, thank you for your service. And yes, we like the appreciation, but there's a difference between appreciation and value. You want to be valued because you did something that nobody asked you to do. You risked your life. Freedom is not free. We know that really well. It comes with the price of blood, people that fought before us. I visit the Veterans Hospital, and you should see the VA, the Vietnam veterans, their stories, their experience, and to see how you guys are making people have that dignity that those that fought before us didn't have. It's admirable to me, and I really value what you guys do. And when you guys opened the door for this opportunity, that's exactly what we wanted to expose, like the great deeds that you guys do, the unselfishness, the willing to love those that come frustrated. It's not an easy task. I want to make sure you understand that. There's people that come here fearful with PTSD, with different culture and different backgrounds, and Ann and Urszula, Dennis also here, they're trying to make them feel human and back, like they're back home,
I don't think that it was so much of a change. We've always had a reading problem. There's always been a reading problem, right? COVID did not unveil this great big reading problem. COVID unveiled the access and accessibility, right? That woke us up. But we've always had a problem in this country with reading, going back to anti-literacy laws. So I just want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that our brains were not wired to read. We have to teach it to read, right? It does this great thing, right? It rewires itself, right, to form pathways for reading to develop. A lot of people don't understand that. It's very different than language. Language, you can put a child in a room full of people who are speaking and they will speak. You don't have to teach them how to talk, right? That is not going to happen for reading. You cannot sit someone in a room full of people who are reading, whether they're reading out loud or silently. It's not going to happen. You have to teach it to read, right? That starts very early. What we think is reading starts in kindergarten, and then we build these habits in kindergarten. And if we think that, we're 5 years already behind, right? Reading starts really at the moment of conception. How? Well, all of the stuff that mom eats, all of the environmental pressures and stress impacts the developing brain. Reading is all about the brain. The brain is the main character, right? And so if we understand that, then we have a point of reference. And so how do we build stamina, right? Because in order to learn to read and read well, you have to build stamina. I'm like, this is a race, right? Not for the quick athlete, but it's endurance. And it took us years, decades to get here. My book has only been out since August. It's not going to take months for us to get out. And so people have to come to the point where I came to and say, okay, I reflected, now I see, and now I'm going to do better. When you know better, you do better.
It's time to create.
Exist. I'm trying to coexist. Exist. Yeah, I'm trying to coexist. Exist. I'm trying to coexist.